When we collaborate together, we feel like we can get closer to what is honorable and right. And we really believe that there is a best way of doing things. Just first, really listen to understand. And again, it goes back to having that sincere, genuine relationship. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Find joy in learning and failing fast. Don't fear making mistakes. Really, it's not a failure unless you fail to learn from it. Read a lot. There are so many good books out there. You can read Doug's books. There's so many tools out there. We need to be exposed to new ideas constantly. Do that self-reflection about what makes you truly happy. I can almost guarantee it's always going to be related to your ability and willingness to help other people. And if that's your driving motivation in sales, you're going to be successful.
Culture eats strategy for lunch each and every day. What resonated with me, a lot of what you've said, but I heard packaging consultant. Yes, we are sales leaders. Yes, we are in the honorable profession of selling, but are we really salespeople, or are we consultants, subject matter experts, or trusted advisors? Could you share with us your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
You are listening to the Best Sellers Podcast presented by Doug Dvorak, where the focus is elevating your sales boom. The Best Sellers Podcast, your ultimate destination for winning sales strategies.
Good day and welcome, Best Sellers Podcast Nation. I'm Doug Dvorak, your host, founder and managing principal of the Sales Coaching Institute. I'm so excited. Today's topic is mastering sales leadership, insights from a top sales manager. Our guest today is Robert Mortensen, the sales general manager of Container in Eagle, Idaho. Welcome, Robert.
Thank you, Doug. Good to be with you.
Yeah, it's a high honor and privilege to meet you. I've really enjoyed our sidebar conversations about sales leadership and some of the skills that you've acquired over your journey. Tell us a little bit about your current role and how long you've been in sales leadership and what attracted you to sales leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. I started out in sales, container and packaging 8 years ago, and I'd never been in a sales role before. I have my degree is in construction management, and so I ran home building and land development processes forever. But I was always a people person, and I thought I might be okay at sales. And so some friends of mine that own the company invited me to come. They originally owned the company. They invited me to come and join them as a sales representative. And I loved it. Like for the 3 years I did it, I just saw exponential growth. Really enjoyed working with the customers and the vendors. And then it came time when the company kept growing and we were in desperate need of leadership. I've been naturally gravitating toward leadership in every other role of life. And so, but they had to do a little convincing for me to leave. I felt like I was on such an exponential curve that becoming a sales leader was a bit of a setback financially. That was be a lesser growth curve than I originally had. So they convinced me that my greatest joy and happiness is really in helping others. And so I made the leap to sales leadership.
You bring up a great point. So you were a star sales performer and they needed a sales leader. And more often than not, when a company has a gap in sales leadership, what do? They promote their best sales rep. And sometimes that doesn't work out. I'm glad it worked out for you. Excellent. Tell us a little bit about your best hiring practices for A-level talent. I ascribe to a hiring principle for sales leaders and salespeople is A's hire A's, B's hire C's, and C's put you out of business. What are some of the best hiring practices at Container that you're employing and deploying to find A-level talent?
Yeah, you're right. We do tend to hire in our own image. And but we take a really unique approach to it. We have the normal recruiters. We work with outside recruiters, but we also post on LinkedIn and Indeed and the other job recruiting services. We do an initial phone call just to kind of get a feel for if they have a good vibe, good energy. But really, the unique part comes in our first interview. We bring them in for an in-person interview, and we play a word game with them. And I'm not going to give away all of our secrets, but it's a kind of a comparative word game just to describe their own attributes. And then So it's not just about which word of the two they choose, but their explanation of why. That's really critical to us, because we want to be able to gauge in that first interview, does that person have drive? Do they have a level of meekness or humility, teachability? Are they going to be able to maintain the pace that we have here at Container and Packaging? So we're trying to really vet those things out as quickly as possible. But it's usually an hour-long, really fun, interactive interview. And it always surprises people. People always come away saying, I've never had an interview like that. And then if we felt really good about them, we'll bring them back for a second in-person interview. And in that interview, we talk about idioms. So phrases that we use commonly in the English language. Like one of them, for instance, is like, a leopard can never change its spots. And then we ask, do you agree or disagree? Why or why not? And then those explanations are really fascinating, because then we can really see what character, what attributes does this person have? And then we'll even challenge them sometimes just to see if they can gracefully navigate being challenged. And anyway, we feel like our hiring process has really helped us dial in how to hire really strong performers. And it's worked out. We do have some people that don't work out after a while. So we don't hit 100% of the time, but we feel like we're doing really well.
And I love, as we spoke in preparation for today's podcast, something you mentioned that is really resonating with me relative to hiring A-level talent. You said if they have a nimble mind and can they develop creative solutions. Can you expound upon that a little bit? I love that.
Yeah. So nimbility, we even coined our own term, nimbility. We like to make our own words. But really do they have the ability to move quickly off of, maybe they have their own mindset about something. Can they get off that quickly? And with customers all the time, they need the ability to adapt and be nimble in their relationship. And then also to come up with creative solutions. Our sales role is very non-traditional. It's not very salesy. We don't do any cold calling. You can if you want to, but not required here. We have enough inbound leads coming. So we need people that can come up with really strategic and creative solutions. And so anyway, part of our interviewing process to try to suss that out of them during the interview, see if they have that ability.
Great. Thanks for that feedback. Relative to compensation at Container as the sales leader, as you know, compensation drives behavior. Can you share with us a little bit about your compensation model?
Yeah, we have a base salary, which is negotiable based on experience and what kind of strength we think that person could bring. And then we have commissions based on the profit of every order. No caps on the commission, so people can continue to grow. And we'll even raise base salaries up to a certain max point, but commissions are capped. And we'll take commissions. We usually start at a certain percentage, and we'll allow that to increase incrementally up to another certain point. But again, still no cap. And so we have packaging consultants making really, really good livings here, and even people within the first, for example, in my own case, within the first 6 months, I'd been able to double my income from my previous career in home building. So,
wow. And as a dovetail to the discussion on your compensation model, what recognition programs, if any, do you have? President's Club, et cetera?
Yeah. So we've tried to gamify our statistics. And so we've based it off of fantasy sales, we call it fantasy sales, based on like fantasy football or fantasy baseball. And so within that, we have team awards, which are usually pretty generous chunk of cash, or we've had travel and different types of gift cards. We also have MVP, which also has a nice bonus attached to that. We have our Rookie of the Year each year that we do as well. And for the different categories that we are measuring, whatever that fantasy sales season, we'll have awards for the top performers in each of those categories. And then we kind of have our All-Star Team 1 and All-Star Team 2 as well. So, yeah, they're a little pride and joy and plaques on the wall and bonuses to boot.
That's great. I'm really intrigued about the value creation model at Container. Can you unpack that for us?
One of our founding core principles is honor. And we want to find out what the right thing to do is in every situation. We don't claim we know what the right thing is to do, but when we collaborate together, we feel like we can get closer to what is honorable and right. And we really believe that there is a best way of doing things. And so we just have to work together to do the best we can to approximate the most honorable way to move forward. So one of the things that we've developed is our value creation model, which we look at our 5 stakeholders. We have our customer, we have our vendors, our suppliers, our manufacturing partners, we have our coworkers, and we look at the company as its own entity, especially where we're an employee-owned company that deserves to be its own entity. And then the 5th stakeholder is our sales rep, our packaging consultant. And so what we're really looking for in every transaction, do we have all 5 stakeholders? Are they all winning? Mm-hmm. And is the arrow going up for everybody? And it's really valuable to be able to consider in every situation, are we doing that? And it just helps us make the right decisions. More often than not, we hit it right because we've considered that. And the beauty of it is that our sales rep, our packaging consultant, they're the advocate for all 5 of those stakeholders. It's their responsibility to make sure that all the arrows are moving up. And it's kind of interesting because you could look at our value creation model. We also see a lot of times in business value transfer or even value destruction. So, for example, if I have a customer that needs 2 million 16-ounce jars, and I go to the manufacturer and I just beat them down on price to the point where they're not really excited about doing that work, then they're having an arrow down or an arrow sideways, and the arrow up, maybe I'm getting an arrow up and my company might be, and the customer is, but our trade partner, our manufacturing partner doesn't. And over time that depletes the relationship, and over time it could destroy the relationship. So we're always trying to we want to make sure the arrows are always going up. So we want our manufacturers to succeed. We want them to be profitable, and we want our customers to get really good pricing as well. So navigating that balance is a critical component to being a successful packaging consultant sales rep here at Container.
Excellent. I love your unpacking your sales culture. I love what management scion and Professor Peter Drucker said about culture. Culture eats strategy for lunch each and every day, and salespeople are unique. And the culture you've created, I love it. Fantasy sales, et cetera, MVP. What resonated with me a lot of what you've said, but I heard packaging consultant. Yes, we are sales leaders. Yes, we are in the honorable profession of selling, but are we really salespeople, or are we consultants, subject matter experts, or trusted advisors? Could you share with us your thoughts on that?
Yeah. In the home building and land development industry, we often had third-party consultants we would bring in to audit our books and our processes. And they spent a lot of time listening to us, asking a lot of really good questions. And then they would come back and they would speak the truth to us. And sometimes it hurt, but they were truth speakers. And so that's one of the reasons we opted to stop calling ourselves sales reps, because we weren't representing a specific line of product, but we were providing consultation services. We wanted to be truth speakers. We wanted to listen really well and then come back and provide truth and provide options so that customers can make the best decisions and move forward. And so that's our goal. Share the truth.
Truth seekers and truth speakers. I love it. Tell me about how you evaluate performance as the sales leader at Container, please.
Yeah, we don't have the traditional KPIs like a lot of other places might. Again, we've mentioned how we've gamified our fantasy sales. So we usually will have each fantasy sales season, we usually have 12 metrics that we're focusing on. And those change from season to season, depending on where we feel like some extra focus needs to be placed. And so those metrics, they give a snapshot into how someone's performing. And then when we like to cobble all those snapshots together and try to come up with a story. And then we, in our one-on-ones, will kind of say, here's the story I'm starting to extract from this data. Is that story true? Am I on the right track? Like, how do you see it? And it will open up the door to the packaging consultant. So, yeah, that story is right. I'm dealing with whatever stuff in life, or I've been having these challenges, and it just opens people right up. So again, we want to have that relationship of trust and genuine concern for our consultants, so that they feel free to be vulnerable and open up about whatever challenges they're facing, because we really care that they grow and that they're successful. So,
excellent, thank you. Now, transitioning into specific sales leadership skills that you've acquired, harvested. Can you share with us your sales leadership philosophy? And then as a subset, what are some sales leadership skills you could impart with our listeners, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, and maybe it goes back to 7 Habits and How to Win and Friends and Influence People. Maybe it goes back to some of those old tried and true things, but really just first, really listen to understand. Just such a critical skill. I still feel like I'm not great at it, but I'm finding that I'm continually improving. And again, it goes back to having that sincere, genuine relationship. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so we want our consultants to know that, especially when we're giving them critical feedback, that it's not that their job is in jeopardy. We're not attacking the competency. We just want to help them grow. And because we really genuinely care, we're going to invite them to grow. And if we weren't inviting them to grow, we don't really care. And so we like to boldly invite change and improvement and boldly give feedback, but certainly in a way that can be received and accepted and improved upon.
Excellent. Could you tell me about how you coach your sales team? How structured, just briefly?
We do one-on-ones, usually weekly, half hour to an hour with each person. And then we do a weekly team huddle. We'll bring the whole entire sales floor together at least once or twice a month for a big, usually a very poignant themed instruction. And obviously we have internal blogs and other things just to share information. And yeah, that's primarily it.
Excellent. So you're in the container and packaging industry. I'm a speaker, trainer, and coach. That's our primary business. But as you know, as we get into the next discussion, technology, we're all in IT, and that's a close second to our primary mission or charter. Now with the advent of AI, tell me a little bit about the technology stack, or how you use and leverage technology for lead generation, distribution, if you could, please.
Yeah, we spend a lot of money with Google and Bing and that search engine optimization. We have a third-party consultant that runs a lot of that, but we are constantly competing for AdWords. One of the challenges that we faced is we were kind of an early adopter of that. So in the early 2000s, we started doing this, and our market share continued to grow by double digits every year because we were early adopters and we were really good at it. Now, the really big wigs in the packaging industry have caught on, and they're competing with us for those AdWords now. So AdWord prices have exponentially gone up as well. So it's been harder and harder to compete in that space, but we're still doing it, and it's still driving plenty of leads our way. And then when it comes to other technology, we have a robust in-house developer team creating tools. Like we've tried a lot of the out-of-the-box solutions, and they just don't work for us. So we create our own. And it's been a lot of fun to actually be a part of creating tools that work for us. That's one of my favorite parts of my role, is creating technological tools, software tools that help us be way more efficient, super fast. And especially in the packaging world, part of the key is the ability to source products quickly. And so we've developed some really cool tools. We've also developed shipping tools that are fascinating, and they're so good that in the near future, you'll probably see us selling those as a service, those software tools, because we're pretty proud of them.
Excellent. There's an old adage I love in sales: experience is a great teacher, but the tuition's too high. Can you share any of your experience or recommendations for individuals in sales and for sales leaders?
Yeah, I would say um, find joy in learning and failing fast. Don't fear making mistakes. Really, it's not a failure unless you fail to learn from it. So we really embrace the scientific method here. We want to experiment, evaluate how that experiment went, and then adapt and try the experiment and try a new tweak on the experiment. So we love to do that. Other big thing I would recommend for anyone in sales or any type of leadership is read a lot. There are so many good books out there. You can read Doug's books. There's so many tools out there. We need to be exposed to new ideas constantly. And it helps us, what I was talking about earlier about finding what is true and right and honorable. I believe in strong ways that it comes through reading and having discussions about what we're reading is where we start to get closer and closer what is true and right and best. And so we have 200 plus books in our company library and an Audible account that everyone can use because we want everyone reading and discussing what they're reading constantly so we can talk about those ideas. We even have books, fantasy books, like Brandon Sanderson is one of our favorite authors. He has a series called the book is called The Way of Kings. It's the Stormlight Archive. And you're like, why would you be reading fantasy books in a corporation? It just seems so weird. But when it comes to leadership and how one comes into power and influence, his books capture really, really well. It makes for a lot of really healthy discussions about positional power versus earned power and influence. And so we love it. Read a lot. So that's what I would recommend to anyone in sales and new leadership.
And I loved one of the thoughts you shared with me the other day. And, another Dougism, who you are speaks so loudly. Of course, I can't hear what you're saying. And mirroring that to your observation, the best salespeople are those with a sincere desire to help another person. Customers can feel that in your countenance. They can sense it in the tone of your voice and even in the way you write your emails and text messages. That is awesome. Is there anything else as it relates to recommendations or ideas for sales people or sales leaders? Read a lot, just coming from a place of mutual value creation, honesty, trust. You don't have to justify ethical behavior. Just be a good person. What are some of the rewards of sales leadership that you've experienced, Robert?
Yeah, I think the biggest rewards is, again, coming back to, I was reluctant to go into sales leadership because I was enjoying my financial commissions. I saw them rising so quickly. But when I took a hard self-reflection and considered what really makes me the happiest in life, and it really came down to helping other people. Like, it's just like you have a neighbor that needs some help. You go help them, and it makes you feel good. And when you have a new packaging consultant and they're trying to learn the ropes, spending time with them, training them, teaching them the work-life hacks, it's really fun to see that light click on in their eyes. It's fun to see them land that first truckload of glass jars, and they ship it halfway across the country, and they're just so excited they shipped a truckload. It's really fun to be able to see them succeed. And it's been challenging because it was easy when I was a sales rep myself, measuring my success. And being in sales leadership, it's not always as tangible and visible on a graph what your success looks like. And so really it comes through those experiences one-on-one with people as you see them start to succeed, as you see their mindset shift when they go from having a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And you see the natural we believe that our profitability as a company is a natural result of us striving to be good people.
Sure.
And so it's fun to see when that really takes off. And everybody comes with some of their own biases or life experiences where maybe they haven't fully bought into what our core values are. But as we talk and have conversations and read those books, you see that mindset shift to that growth mindedness and to that longing to really help other people. And it just makes all the difference in the world.
So, Robert, thank you. Great conversation, great content. I am inspired, as I know our listeners will be. What one big idea, thought would you share as we close today's podcast for sales leaders?
Yeah, I would say do that self-reflection about what makes you truly happy, not fleeting happiness, but truly happy. And I can almost guarantee it's always going to be related to your ability and willingness to help other people. And if that's your driving motivation in sales, you're going to be successful. People can feel that. They'll feel that. It'll resonate in your tone and your voice. And even in the way you write, they're going to feel it. So get down to what that core drive of happiness is, and it'll lead to success.
Great. Thank you, Robert. And for our listeners, if they have any container or packaging needs from Container in Eagle, Idaho, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, you can go to containers.com and you'll find all of our offerings there. And then we can hook you up with one of our packaging consultants, and they can help you navigate those waters and take all those headaches from supply chain stuff. Let us be your supply chain team.
Excellent. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Best Sellers Podcast Nation. I hope you enjoyed our guest, Robert Mortensen, General Sales Manager with Containers in Eagle, Idaho. Please go to salescoach.us/podcast. We also have a plethora of free ebook downloads on every aspect of the sales process. And I'd happy to offer up a 30-minute complimentary consultation with me, Doug Dvorak, founder and managing principal of the Sales Coaching Institute, to discuss and unpack and provide some great value and ideas on your own sales leadership growth trajectory. Thank you so much, and carpe cellum.
Hey, thank you, Doug.
If you made it all the way here, thank you for listening to the Best Sellers Podcast, your ultimate destination for winning sales strategy. We hope you loved this episode. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on your favorite podcast platform to never miss an episode. See you on the next one.